English grammar is full of stupid rules. And in a minute, I'm about to break one of the biggest grammar taboos just to prove that it's no big deal. But first, how did we get here? One commonly expressed rule of grammar is that you should never split your infinitives. Now, infinitives are this construction here where you have the word to followed by a verb. The rule is that it is wrong to put a word in between them. Most people who try to justify this will refer back to the Latin that a lot of English grammar is based on. They'll say in Latin, you cannot split the infinitive. But that's a really stupid reason, because the reason you cannot split the infinitive in Latin is that it's a single word. It's not two words to split. The real reason this rule was adopted was as a way to differentiate the learned classes from the working classes. See, at that time, the working classes very frequently split the infinitive, so the educated classes used that as a way to put them down or to stand above them. Nowadays, most people consider this rule to be completely ridiculous, including most linguists. Nobody pays it much mind. Don't worry, Star Trek, we've got your back. Another completely pointless rule of grammar is the idea that you should modify a gerund using an adjective, not an adverb. A gerund is a verb that is functioning as a noun in the sentence, like running is here, and it's usually a verb ending in ing. Now, normally, you would use an adverb to modify a verb and an adjective to modify a noun, and since this is a verb acting like a noun, there's legitimate debate about which is the appropriate one to use. This debate, though, got incredibly heated in the earliest 20th century when Sidney Johnson and J.O. Crone, two competing linguists, got into such a fight they ended up having a duel over the matter. In the end, Sidney Johnson won and killed Mr. Crone, and as a result, we follow his rule that we use the adjective. For this reason, we say, quick running tires me out, not quickly running. Not that I would really know much about running. Now, one of the absolute stupidest rules is this one here. Don't end a sentence with a preposition. And the reason that one is so stupid is that when you follow it, your sentence sounds stupid. This was brilliantly demonstrated by Winston Churchill, a man more famous for making jokes about drinking poison tea and discussing the formation of the United Nations with President Roosevelt in the White House while completely naked. He once said, "This is the bloody nonsense up with which I will not put." That sounds dumb. Why wouldn't he just say, "This is the stuff I won't put up with"? And that's the point. Here he said it grammatically correctly, but it sounds so dumb. Don't be like that. English grammar is full of stupid rules. And in a minute, I'm about to break one of the biggest grammar taboos just to prove that it's no big deal. But first, how did we get here? Well, grammar is sometimes very important. Recently, a court case that revolved around the use of a single comma awarded some truck drivers in Maine $5 million. But honestly, most of the time when people talk about grammar, they're using rules as a way to feel superior to others. A classic case of this is the use of the apostrophe in possessives. These people would complain if I put an apostrophe here because not possessive, or here because not possessive. They say you only put an apostrophe before an S when you're showing ownership. But those same people would also complain if I put the apostrophe here, even though I'm saying belongs to it. No, they would say, but we don't do it for that, just like we don't do it for hers or for his. But that's a way to remember it. It's not a reason for a rule. And even the experts are often confused about apostrophes. One of the most well-known style guides, Strunk and White's The Elements of Style, tells you that when you have a person's name that ends with S, you put apostrophe S on it, unless it's an old name, and then you don't. I don't care that the White in Strunk and White is E.B. White, author of Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. That is a dumb reason. So, in defiance of all this stupidity, I am going to break all of their rules. I'm going to put this apostrophe here just to show you that absolutely nothing happens.
Maybe I've tempted fate. Maybe I've gone too far. But hey, that in itself is an idea worth exploring.